You've seen on my computer now. So let's get back in here. There we go. Okay. Let's start at the beginning. The reason we obviously in Hungary, we have U8 and U10. You can look at this at U7 and U9 or somewhere around the U9 age that we're looking at for this whole presentation. This is why they're both put together in this situation. Our kids all in Hungary, just to tell you, our kids in Hungary, they don't play full ice games. They only play cross ice games. We have something like 190 tournaments a year for each age level. So more, and at each age level this year, we've only had 4 teams per go to each tournament. We usually have 6, but but most teams will play something like 12 to 20 tournaments during the season. You have to host 2 and go to 4. That's the minimum amount. So all our kids, there's no scores caps or anything like that. But of course, that's what moms and dads are for. They keep the scores usually during the games, and also the players pretty much know it too. This has been a conversation we've had for a couple of years now about, scores are okay. It's having tables and top scoring programs. That's another story that we're talking about. And we're trying, that's what you shouldn't have. So smart people learn everything from everything and everyone. Average people from their mistakes, and stupid people already have the answers. And during my time, I've tried not to be as stupid as I sometimes am, but this is absolutely very, very true. When you talk to really good coaches from the top level and guys like Mike Babcock and those types, they're always looking to learn something new, just something new that puts them over, that put them to a further edge and all that. And I also know from going to certain nations where a guy will say, "Oh yeah, but this and that," and thinking, "Dude, you coaching so and so." I traveled to quite a few countries, and you're thinking your nation is in the bottom 3 nations in the world. Like, sit back and just listen a little bit. Maybe you might learn something. Don't actually say that, but you do think it sometimes. So thing is, it's better sometimes just to listen and try and learn from everybody. And you will learn. The further up you go, the more humble a lot of these coaches are, and the more they want to learn and are willing to learn and try and have input and take input from people. Okay, here's what our goals and objectives are for these 2 ages. Basically, the under 10 age. Know the appropriate focus that we're looking at. So that's the core skills to start with. Teach the right skills at the right level. Teach the proper skills properly. Work there as much as you can at that level. Make sure they become as good as they can at that. And then finally, build the love for the game. Build the love for them wanting to come back to the game. Right now, I'm working with a club here in Budapest, and it's a club without a rink actually. But they have something like 90, 95 kids playing for them. And every week we have probably 4 little guys, 3 and 4 years old, come on the ice, fully dressed, and there's one female coach, and she takes them, and we have kids play toys on the ice, and that's all they do. They chase those around, they push them. They got a great big box cube that they can push each other in and all that, and then they go. And guess what? They come back next week because they love doing that. They enjoy doing it, and that's what we got to do. We don't need to teach them how to skate and pass and shoot. Teach them to be happy to come. They'll learn how to skate pretty quick because they're running around, they're skating around, and having fun doing those type of things. This is it. It's not a one-step process. We bring them in, and next thing you know, they're getting drafted into the NHL. It doesn't happen. You have to bring them, and if they don't love the sport, they're not going to stay in the game very long. Sorry, I'm about to put this one in. The Hungarian ice hockey development model. This is what a lot of these books are and this stuff. And it's basically a systematic, age-appropriated, age-specific model that promotes the integration of hockey-appropriate practices and games into youth hockey. It helps enhance the players' skills, creativity, and their participation level. Creates positive environment for every child to play games and ice hockey. Develops players, develop athletes able to reach their full potential and develop their social skills. Promote the main values of joy, competition, respect, and fair play. Those are the main things that we're trying to do. On top of that, hopefully they become good hockey players. We try and give the kids an opportunity every time. And I'm amazed when I go and see coaches here in this country still saying, oh yeah, we have 4 practices a week, but we only play a game practice on a Friday. Well, why would that be? Let's face it, kids don't really want to be instructed too much, just enough. They want to be able to play. So play some type of games with them. Every practice is important for them to be able to learn and develop from there. Okay. So here we go. Conceptual approach for U8s. We're basically looking at fundamentals, fun, and learn to love the game. You know this, let me just go back there. I told a story to last week when I was in practice with this team in Budapest. And this thing, learn to love the game, have fun. It can't be stressed enough. I'll tell you, I got a couple stories, but I'll just tell the one. I remember when I played in Nottingham, played for the Panthers, and we'd always go down and watch the junior teams, but the only 2 junior teams that every club had in Great Britain at that time was under 12 and under 16. So we'd go down and watch both sets of games. And every time Sunderland came into town with their under 12 team, they had this little tiny kid who sat on the end of the bench, must have been 8 years old, so way too young to play. And on his back, he had the words John Boy on it. So he used to sit there during the whole game, and then between periods, everybody would leave the ice, and they pick him up, put him over the boards. He'd skate around the ice as quick as he could till the kids started coming back. They pick him up, put him back on the bench. Between second and third, they do the same thing. You think, well, what the hell's that for? That was John Weaver. John Weaver's still playing in his 40s now. He's just a little bit older than you, Lynchy, I think. But you know what? What was he doing with the team? You know what? He was having fun, and he stayed, and he became a good hockey player. A lot of guys have this situation. That's the most important thing, is that do they come back the next week? Then that's important. Okay, so practicing game, fundamental movements. The ABCs of athleticism. This is what we talk about a lot now, athleticism. And the ABCs are agility, balance, and coordination. And let's face it, most of the kids who come and play hockey in almost every country in Europe aren't the best athletes. Why? Because there's this disease called football that take all our best athletes from us. Hey, fair enough. It's the biggest sport. They get the best athletes by and large. Every once in a while we get it. So we have to teach all these things. And that's some things that we should be working on. The agility, balance, and coordination of your athletes. That's the first thing you start working on. Work with ball skills in games. So off the ice, have them stick handling a ball. Have them bouncing balls so they can actually learn coordination of the hand-eye coordination, hand-eye instrument coordination, all these type of things. Focus on the coordination and the technical skills. The next thing, the LTAD, I don't know if you know what that is, long-term athlete development. Now, I know Great Britain's got a process. I don't know if Great Britain hockey's got one. I developed one for Ice Hockey UK. I don't know if it's ever been used. We use our one here in Hungary, and they do a lot of it, but they do a lot of it in a lot of nations. USA Hockey have it. The big pushing nation they had for this is Hockey Canada. They started the whole long-term athlete development. I don't know if you know, a lot of people don't understand that, especially here, that do you know that there's long-term or short-term development. What is ice hockey? It's a long-term development sport. It's not a short-term development sport. Know how you know that? There's no 9-year-olds or 10-year-olds ever being drafted into the NHL. There's so much to learn. So many. First, we talk about the skills, Then we start talking about the tactics. Then we start talking about the team tactics, and can they read and understand? There's a lot of stuff to be taken in. So it's long-term athlete development. That's what we're talking about. And the work here, there's windows of reception, and at this age, it's agility and quickness. That if you can teach them at this age, those things, that they'll be at their maximum and they'll be able to their full potential during that time. At U12, you'll see it in probably the next slide. I think the U12, it's speed that players can actually learn quicker. On ice and off ice, what, when, and how long? I don't know what the situation is in Great Britain now with off ice training, but you know, some of our kids here in Hungary get 200 practices a year and 200 off ice practices a year, as well as 40 odd games or something like that. You know, it's a regular thing to have off ice practice. And you know what? Off ice practice goes to that 10,000 hours, 3 hours a day. And you know what? If you do the off ice practice close enough to them going on the ice, then you don't have to have a warm up. You can get them straight into doing and going from there. This is something the Finns are very big on now, is they do a really hard off ice session, maybe that ends between a half an hour and 15 minutes before practice. Players go straight in the dressing room, get changed, put their equipment on, straight on the ice, and then we don't waste the 10 minutes of stretching at the beginning of the practice. They go straight into it. But you know what? Off ice training isn't going to make that much difference at this age, but it does in habit. They get used to doing this thing. And this is the most important thing. We're starting to set down the foundation of a habit for them to be able to get used to, that they can do for the rest of their lives, the rest of the time they're in this sport. Have them play other sports. That does happen in Britain. It doesn't happen very much here. And that's good, because everything they're doing, every type of sport they're playing is helping them in their sports ability and their athleticism. Work with skill level groups. So it doesn't always have to be age. This is why these two sit together quite nicely. But put your best players in one group, put the next best in the other. If you have 3 groups or 4 groups, put them together so they're working with their peers at a similar level, so they can push themselves and they can get better, and they can actually take skill development and work together with that. Games and tournaments. Like I said, everything here is played cross ice. Even there's a company that runs games here, runs tournaments here. They have scores, but they still play everything cross ice too. Mostly 3-on-3. We played 5-on-5 last year cross ice in our leagues, which I thought was very good. But it doesn't always have to be the same. But honestly, there's a lot more benefit from kids at this age and under 10s, under 9s playing cross ice hockey than there is full ice hockey. I'll say it, maybe we can have a nice conversation about that later on. So here we have the age groups. Here we have the skills and all the skills that we're talking about. Green is good effect, period, good effect, very good effect. Yellow is good effect. Blue is almost no effect. So the best way is to do it in reverse. If you look at a player, if he doesn't have the basics by the time he's 18 years old, he's never going to have the basics. And I would actually argue it's probably a little bit earlier than that. Working on balance. If you see the things that are basic skills, different moradics. So the hands doing one thing, the feet doing something else. Their balance, just coming into speed as we're getting there. That's when they're most receptive. Those are the things to work on. But looking at the core skills, balance, their basic stance, and their hockey position. Starting like they should, because what your starting position is determines and dictates how good the ability will be for and the precision of that the skill will be done at. So basically, we're looking at basic stance, knees bent, shoulders over the knees over the toes, hands in front of the body. To be exact, it's actually being taught a little bit more so now that the knees should actually, when you bend them, they should be past the toes a little bit. Have them stopping and starting, have them working on their edges and just learning to skate and move. Forward and backward skating, starting with forward and then slowly starting to work into backward. Puck control, both stationary and moving. Passing and receiving, stationary and moving. And then introduction of a hockey terminology. I remember once I was coaching actually in Switzerland. We're in Switzerland and we're at this beginning group, and the coach told everybody to go to center ice. This kid come to me, and he came to me and says, "Is that the center ice?" He didn't know where center ice was, the center ice circle. Brand new kid, never been on the ice, didn't know the terminology. Where's center ice? Where's the blue line? It's a blue line. Have you ever thought about introducing to your kids at this youngest age that when I say all the whites over there, I'm talking about your shirt? I know I've had a lot of kids look at me thinking, what the hell is he talking about? Kids at this age, a lot of times don't understand. Explain. If we're working in colors, we're working in the color of the shirt that you're wearing, okay? Explain it to them. It saves a lot of hassle and harassment for you as a coach later on. This is some of your hockey tournament. There's actually a guy I work with when he coached U8s and U10s. One of his first practices of the year was teaching kids how to put a penny on over top of their hockey shirt so they could play games during practice. Take your helmet off, and put it on like this. Somebody will help you put your helmet back on. This is the way we'll do it. So the youngsters knew if the colored pennies came out and I got one, this is what I had to do. Because it saved later on in the season where the kid was still, in a straitjacket after 2 or 3 minutes to try to put the thing on. It's little tiny things. This is the habits and being really putting into detail with some of these things. For these little guys, makes it really easier for you if they understand what you're talking about or some of the things that you're trying to get them to do. Game understanding. Basically, we can start it right now. Hockey sense, game sense, all right, where to be and where to be on the ice. And to read and act. Ooh, if he's got the puck, what should you do? Well, he's on their team, so I should go get it. Yeah, there's a good idea. He's got the puck. What should you do? Oh, he's my teammate, so I should maybe try and go to the net so he can pass to me. Yeah, very good. Keep my stick on the ice. Excellent. Then add, if it's appropriate for the skills and all that, a passing shadow and game depth. I won't explain these now. I'll explain those in the next section. Excuse me. So, planning, building an ice session. Here's what a lot of your goals are right here. More puck touches, maximum ice utilization, increased competition, and fun. Station-based practices. First 10 minutes, skating without the puck. Skating with or without the puck, doing something, having races, have them playing tag. Tag is a huge thing so that kids can play. And you know what? You put a rule into tag. Freeze tag, you have to stand still. Or everybody skating backwards tag. Or the tagger can skate forward, everybody else skates backwards. Or if you get tagged, you have to hold hands with the tagger, and there's 2 of you chasing them off the place. All sorts of things. But there's your warm-up right there. Stations that provide good intensity, instruction, and that you can actually give good feedback during. And finally, an ending, fun games and competitions. So they leave the ice happy because you finished with some kind of a game. It doesn't have to be a game where they shoot the puck on the net. It can be a game of something else, but as long as they've got a game. And here we go. Up here, we have some practice that fits exactly with this. This is right out of the Swedish under 8 manual. Skating full length, doing things. Then we have a 6-station drill. And then finally playing 3-on-3 of some sort as your final part. Okay. U10s. So now we're moving up from the fundamental fun and learning to love the game into still teaching the fundamentals, still teaching fun, and hoping, trying to keep them loving the game. But now we're teaching a few more things: skating maneuvers, passing, puck skills, and shooting. Now, obviously at U8, if the player's reasonable, he will be already learning these things, of course. And now we're talking about advancing that information, taking that a little bit further for them, giving them more opportunity and more things that they can actually work with, and actually developing on their already existing skills. Fundamental movement. Once again, it's almost exactly the same. But now we're working a little bit more with speed and morodic coordination. Technical skills, we allow for repetition, but we add in progressions now, make it a little bit more difficult, a little bit more complicated. Can add in some fundamental sports skills also. But still doing this pretty much the same thing, but we start adding more things that are a little bit more complicated and more advanced for the players. Here's your core skills. Obviously, continue from the U8 core skills, but now we're talking about parallel stops, edges, glide turns, crossovers, pivots, acceleration now, maybe even starting, getting them to learn how to start correctly. Backhand passing and shooting, basic player roles. So now we're teaching them what to do when you have the puck, what to do if you're guarding the guy with the puck. Really, you start with what to do if you have the puck and what to do if your teammate has the puck too. Support concept, pass and follow the pass. Win the puck, keep the puck in play. Introduce basic individual tactics. So things they can do when they're on the ice to keep the puck and hold on and just start playing. Here we go, game understanding. Game depth, passing shadow. If appropriate, big ice, small ice concept, give and go concept, split vision, and game width. I won't touch these, we'll talk about these on Thursday, but I'll go into these two. Depth. When you're skating up the ice, especially when you're getting up into the near zone, going cross ice, you get close to their net. You don't want to have the players 3 in a row. When I have one behind, 2 in front, or have it the other way around, of have somebody going down further into the zone so they can get close to the net for a pass. So it's something a lot of youngsters don't totally understand. 3 guys in a row, stay in a row, or 2 guys next to each other instead of one moving so the other one can pass to him as he goes towards the net. Passing shadow. This is a passing shadow. Guarding the guy this way, understanding that you can stand between the puck carrier and the receiver and guard 2 guys. Or stay with the guy facing the puck carrier now. Now, obviously, this is done at the Swedish under-18 level. I'm not suggesting that any under-10 players at the moment have the ability to do this, but it's a concept for them to understand. So I don't know. No, I've got when I was over in not last year before, I showed some videos of players guarding each other, and it's amazing. In Hungary, there's this view of just watching the puck when they're in their own zone, watching the puck, and their kids are mesmerized by it. If you look at the better nations of the world, what do? They watch the guy they're supposed to be guarding. The guy who has the puck carrier, he's the one that watches the puck. And it's about getting kids to understand that if you don't have the puck, if your player doesn't have the puck, then you stay with that player so that he's okay and that he's guarded. He doesn't get open. Okay, some things about U10 hockey. A better practice to game ratio. It's a prime window for skill development. So now is the time that we must be giving them the skills. If the players don't learn the basic skills to a certain level, they will never ever obtain them after this time. Increased emphasis on decision-making skills. here's one for decision-making skills. Let me just go back. We talk about game sense, game understanding, decision-making skills, and all that. If we have a drill, and it's huge in this part of Europe, Austria, Slovenia, Hungary, not so much in Hungary anymore because we've tried to stop it. Got coaches starting drills on the whistle. So you have a player skates up here, he gets a pass, he goes in and shoots, and the coach blows the whistle, and then the next guy goes. And then the next guy goes. But the coach is making all the decisions. He's blowing the whistle. Here's your first level of game understanding or decision-making skills. Tell them when you blow the whistle. Okay, when the guy in front of you, when he passes the goal, when he passes the blue line, that's when you go, okay? Okay, or when you pass the puck, you go right away. Or if we're going through cones, on the third cone, when he gets to the third cone, you go. Once kids get used to that, now you can show them how to do it to start with by controlling things, but then step back, let them make some decisions. Because that's them now making decisions that will continue as they go through play. It's a simple concept, really. People think, oh, my kids are dumb. Only if you make them dumb. Give them the opportunity. Tell them, basically, well, that's where I blow my whistle, so I'm going to tell them there's where he goes. Worst case, take a pen onto the ice and draw it onto the ice so they know exactly where they're going. This is where I want you to go. We've done this a couple of times with this team I'm working with. The kids were going in, you know what it's like for the poor goalkeeper. The kids, like 25 kids are coming in and they're all trying to deke them. Well, no, stop. Okay, go back, draw a line on the ice and say you shoot from there. You write, if you want to, you can write shoot right next to it. That's where they have to shoot from. So they can understand, okay, this is a decision-making process. This is where I'm shooting. Once again, with practices, pretty much station-based practices. I know there has been a lot of thoughts about station-based practices. Well, are they any good? With our U16 and U15 national teams, all the practices are station-based, so that you can get as much work in as possible during a practice, as many skills as possible. That we make it smaller. Well, at least half the practice on the skills parts of the practices are station-based, so you can do it for many ages. Once again, full ice skating with and without the puck, basic technical skills, SAG, small area games, and teach. You can play games, all sorts of things in the game process, and then ending with games and competitions. Review. So here's, once again, that practice that was really good. Review of the practice. Here's some questions. Do you understand these drills? The skills and the teaching points that you're teaching here? Could you run this in your practice? Do you know what adjustments you would make for the kids of your age? Or if they were older, if you've got older players? This is a very, very basic practice, but I'll show you a couple of videos in a second that we used it for two groups. One was 16 and 15-year-olds who weren't very good, actually, and the other group was under 10s. But it was exactly the same practice, and the practices were different because of the abilities of the player. Things like this. I'll show you one. You can see on my pen, A. What kids basically do is they shoot, and then it's a nice little trip around to wherever they want to go and taking their time so they can get back to the end of the line. So we push them, skate as hard as you can. Another one, skate down here. Whenever you're skating this way, you're skating forwards. Whenever you're skating towards the blue line, you're skating backwards. So now they have to pivot in there and all that. And that's all done in a 6 to 8 minute section. If they're good at one thing, we have them do something else. Add a little bit more to it. Same drill, but with this time they're carrying the puck, have them do the same things. Add some extra things in. Here's the thing. Shoot the puck. No deking. After you shoot, go. Passing. Stick on the ice. Give them a target. When you get it, no extra movement. Put the puck straight back to them. Shooting is, so there's all sorts of little skills, but you have to know, because if we say a lot here, teach this, teach, correct, teach. You have to know what you're teaching and correcting. And it only has to be one or two things for each drill. Pick up on those and talk about, hey, could only be one thing, but still do it. Make sure you understand what the skill is, and make sure that's the thing that you emphasize and you concentrate on with your players. So here's a practice. This is a place called SIHACoaches. And I'll be told by my girlfriend that I didn't say that correctly, but that's okay. It's on the eastern side of Hungary, right over by the Romanian and Ukrainian borders. It's actually it's a very nice town, and this rink is just being built, but there's no walls. There's three sides of it have no walls. But they asked if we could go out there and run a practice. So we ran the practice that you've just looked at. The first thing we did some skating. I've got a video of that, but I don't have it on here. And what we did is you picked the partner, you skated around past the puck. When the whistle blew, you went one-on-one and played against each other. Hey, we've got competition going off already. So that's how we started. And just looking here, you have the shooting section. There's a beginners group, so we actually added a beginners group in here too. That's what you also had outside the blue line. See, you can actually see next door. But here you have the passing section right here. The other end of the ice, you have the shoot, go to the net for the rebound. Okay, go. We're skating through that. Next to that is actually the one where they carry the puck. And in the middle, they're playing the four pylon game where they're trying to shoot at the pylons. So and down here, there you can see the shooting section, the passing section here, and the beginners section. So we actually added an extra section on for the younger group. And that was the whole practice. I think we did a little something at the end, had a quick game of something for everybody at the end, and that was the end of the practice. They are trying to raise more funds so they can actually build a proper rig. Well, actually do the rest of the walls, but it's actually lovely. It was a beautiful day outside, nice and cold inside. So perfect hockey weather as far as I was concerned. So here's some things to consider, and this is important. I looked at this and I debated whether I wanted to take this out of this presentation, but having been with this team that I've been working with for a while, I know this is important. Lacing the skates, making sure the skates are tied and making sure they're sharpened. Hungarian stories, I don't have to do this, but the kids go to the coaches on this team that I'm working with. They're from UH, U10s, U12s. UH and U10s must be 20 kids who have to have their skates tied up. So they sit down, the coaches sit there next to them, tie them up, they come on the other side, tie it up, make sure it's sorted out and they're done and they're tied correctly for the kids. Make sure the skates are sharpened. There's one rink that we had open here about 15 years ago. After the year the coach left, he says, oh, these kids are all shit, they can't skate. Then they found out the kids had never had their skates sharpened in a year. Now that's okay for a stupid coach like me, because I don't do too much on the ice, so it doesn't matter. But the kids have never had their skates sharpened. So make sure those type of things, I talk to them about, make sure they understand. Balance on and off the ice, and posture, standing correctly, moving correctly, making sure they have good balance, doing things on one foot and the other foot. Striding, hard push and frequency. Once you know how to push hard, do it quickly. Nice rhythm, arms and legs, everything going forward. We have a real problem here in Hungary of players with their sticks going sideways. Two hands on the stick not on the ice, and it's moving sideways. Well, it should all be moving forward. Gliding turns. Yeah, turn. Yeah, but let's speed it up. Get close to the cone, turn quickly, and get your foot over so you're actually crossing over as you turn. Things when we start talking about the puck control and that, check out the stick, the stiffness, and have it taped. You're the expert here. Most mom and dads don't know what they're talking about when it comes to equipment, especially sticks. And you got to understand, you know, they buy a nice composite stick for the kid that goes right over the top of their head, and you want to cut it off at their nose, and mom and dad say, Jesus Christ, that's 25 pounds that we're getting rid of there. Well, no. This is making sure that your son or daughter can play better and play correctly and have the right possibilities of doing. They don't understand. And you do have this knowledge, and you're willing to pass it along. Not necessarily, but help them out, make the right decisions here. Stick handling, lower hand movement, hand moves up and down the stick. Make sure we're getting and body weight and reach. So as they move away, the body weight comes over. When it comes over to the sides as the hand moves. As the hands move closer together. Have the blade on the ice at all times. Point toward the target when passing. Sweep hard. Call for passes, soft receiving, cushioning the puck so they understand how to pass it, and so eventually they can receive and pass all in the same motion. When they shoot the puck. Shoot to score. Shoot hard, and aim at the target. Aim to see what they're doing at, and go beyond your limits. It's okay to fail. You ever seen the kid on the ice and he skates so hard he falls over all the time? Well, maybe he's not bad. Maybe he's just going way past what he can do at the moment. Well, that's good. He knows where his limit is at the moment, and he's pushing himself towards a larger limit as he goes. Things to consider when the kids are playing. Game sense. What is happening in the game? Just think about what you're doing. Just think. Ask questions from them. Have them think about what they're doing. Good habits. Skate and pass hard. This is a big British problem, or it always was anyway. Passing the puck hard. They pass the puck hard. That's why you should teach your kids to pass and receive. So they pass the puck as hard as they can so the other guy can receive it. Shoot to score. Pressure the puck everywhere. Pressure it. If we got wherever you are, don't stand back. Go get it. And most importantly, don't give the puck away. There's no reason to. Yes, I played for a team that helped and chased a whole season in Great Britain, and we won the national championship. But we did actually know what we were doing when the puck was being dumped in the zone. So we were putting it to a point that our guys were going to get the puck, and that's the thing that we're trying to teach our kids here. They're really great at the older levels of, well, we need to change. Just jumping in the corner and everybody skates off the ice. Well, you just gave them the puck. That's a turnover. That's not the most effective way of doing this. Just basic, Jason, just trying to teach them to think a little bit differently. And most importantly here, finally, are there any tactics at under 9? We have this obviously in Hungary with under 8s and under 10s where it's cross ice. Is there any tactics? Well, really, no, there's no real game tactics, except for these 3 things. If you lose the puck, go get it back. When you have the puck, keep it in your team. So your team keeps it. And when you get a chance, shoot the puck and shoot to score. This is pretty simple. And these are 3 very simple things to say that should be the basis of all teaching from under 9s, under 7s, under 10s, all the way up to your pro players. Yes, players are taught how to trap. It happened a lot here, but what happened was we had under 8s and under 10 teams trapping. They didn't know they were trapping. They just didn't go after the puck. They lost. Just change the mentality. You want to put it, and once kids started to learn it in Hungary, once we get them pushing it, this is fun. We get to keep the puck all the time. Yeah, bingo. That's where the fun of the game is. Evaluation. You work pedagogic skills and players' achievements. It's always good. We spend a lot of time here in Hungary having coaches evaluate what happened during a practice. During that practice that I showed you earlier, we sat down for over an hour talking to the coaches, what they saw, what they felt, what they think the kids felt, what the kids behaved and all that. Did things work? Didn't things work? We do that during we have a learn to play level in our coaching program. We do that all the time in that. We do 2 ice sessions. One, we do it and we explain. Next one, they do it. And then the whole group talks about what went on the ice. Because if you don't know what you did this week, if you don't know what worked or didn't work, what are you going to do next week? There's nothing to build on. So evaluate players before the season, repeat halfway through and at the end of the season to seek improvement, adjust plans accordingly, progressions, new skills, get back to basics, and use simple, relevant drills to evaluate. I've actually just been sent all the drills that we use in our little bit of a testing program. And what our testing program is, it has nothing to do with timing and all that, but well, nothing that goes onto a database. But having clubs do these things and see how they do later on in the season. So I'll try and share that on Thursday with everybody and give you that information. We've actually got them on video. But it's about giving the kids some kind of information that they can use. Some of the things that you can look at and say, this player is improving, this player isn't improving. Why not? How can I actually make it better for them? Summary. Teach the appropriate skills. Generate activity, proper instruction, and fun. Activity is one of the most important things, but proper instruction. And it doesn't have to be too complicated. Make sure it's quick. Honestly, with a lot of these things you'll see, I would suggest at this age that you don't even use a board. Because youngsters of a certain age can't take the difference from what's up on the board or what's on the ice. They don't understand it. So it's quicker just to get them on the ice, tell them what's happening at this point. This is where station practices work so well. It's a small area, so you get them, and then they understand, okay, fine, this is what we're doing, and you correct as you go. Teach skills and concepts specific to each age level, and create good habits. That's the most important thing. And competitiveness. And competitiveness is a habit for players. They're used to competing, realizing that they're not going to be given this stuff. That makes it a lot easier for you as a coach. And of course, always have fun. Okay. Okay.
Thanks, Daryl. That was great. We've got two or three.
Hoping it was okay.
Yeah, definitely. We've got 2 or 3 questions here, if you've got a spare 5 minutes.
Of course.
The first one's from Ross Murray, and it's a question that comes up very regularly at seminars and webinars and things that we do. He says he's an under-11 coach, and one of the challenges he has is catering for a big age skill variation in the group. What tips would you give to that? Honestly,
the stations are the best. Now, if you don't have, if you only got one coach, then you're struggling. But there is ways of doing it. You put your best 5 players together here, your next 5 here, and you can put them in skill levels. So you're teaching them. And what happens in like say any of the skills programs that we have here, if you have one coach, it's tough, but you can maybe do two stations at once. If you have more than that, you put coaches in each of the stations or whatever stations, and then you move the skill levels around those stations. So if you get your best players, you can take the kids and push them as far as you can. You got your least skilled players, I won't say worst players, your least skilled players, then you just keep it as basic as well. So it's also a teaching skill too for the coach to learn. Yeah, you know the problem that you've got? It's the same everywhere. Everywhere is the same. They say it in Hungary, they say it in Slovakia, they say it everywhere that you want to go to. And it's an important thing in teaching or coaching to learn how to separate your players into 2 groups or 4 groups or 6 groups or whatever. They do it in this club that I'm working with pretty well. And sometimes you'll have a couple of U8s win with some of the U10s because they're better skilled. So the players go with their skill levels and they work on specific things during a practice.
Okay. The next question from Jamie kind of ties in with the last one. And that's how many assistant coaches or helpers would you have on the ice in a normal session?
There's a good question. I'm just playing. What we had on the practice we just ran there was Ishti and myself. That was the 2 federation guys, and we had another 4 coaches on the ice, or 5 coaches on the ice for that practice. So that means we can do 5 or 6 practice. Well, him and I didn't take a program, so I guess there was 6 coaches at one of the things, because all the coaches work together in these situations a lot of times. Most clubs here will have 2 or 3 coaches on the ice at any one time.
I guess the easy answer to that is as many as you possibly can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is I struggled for many years, and even Lynch when I was coaching the national team, I had no assistant coach to start with. I struggled with assistant coaches until I realized that if I gave them a role and we discussed a role and they knew what to do, then it was a lot easier. So this is where the station base works very well, is you tell him, let's talk about a shooting drill. What's a shooting drill? You work through it. If you got it, great. That's all you need to do today. These are the things that you look for. Bingo. And so as the head coach, or the head leader, it's your role to make sure everybody in the group understands what their one role is during this part of the practice. You can't leave him hanging. If you leave him hanging, he's got other things he could or she could be doing. So it makes things very, very much easier. We right now, like I said, with this team, which is actually called Sigeti BCAC, which is the Bulls of Santa Claus Island, actually is the name of the club in English. I've counted 52 players on the ice at one time, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 coaches, 6 to 7 coaches on the ice, because it's U8, U10s, U12s at that point, plus a goalie coach that works with that group. Okay. But use whatever you can. If people have, I know in Britain you have to have qualifications, rightly so. But if they can come on, this is where clubs working together. That's what happens there. Their clubs work together. Is that you'll have 2 or 3 coaches from different ages going on and working during practices.
Yeah. Okay. Eric's asking, is there a process in Hungary to monitor club coaches? And if so, what are the implications for a coach or club who adopt a win-at-all-costs approach? Oh, man, I wish there was. We are pushing for that. We're trying our best. This is part of what the mentor program is. That's part of what my role has been for the last few years. It's going on and seeing people that there should be. We've suspended a few coaches for a couple of things, and that's it. Unfortunately, we can't take their money away from them at the moment, but that's the next stage that we're trying to do. That their payments for the club and for the coach disappears. We had a problem a couple of years ago that we had U8 and U10 teams. What happens in Hungary is they have to go to the doctors and get a physical, quote unquote physical, and a paper that says they're fit to play hockey, even at that age. And coaches were basically going, you know what? I got this one for Stephen, but Stephen isn't here today, but Barry's here, and Barry he doesn't have one. Don't worry, Barry, you're going to be Stephen today. Fantastic. Now, this is for hockey that there's no scores, it's cross ice. But they went, and it's kind of for winning, and you can kind of see what they were thinking. But there's lots of, especially in Britain, there's lots of insurance implications for that. So we had 4 or 5 coaches at U8s and U10s suspended for those times. We've had one guy who went after a referee the other week, and he was suspended for the whole season too. Well, that's understandable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yes, and we're trying to push this further and further to get more things. But obviously, with almost everybody here getting paid, that's the thing that we would like to really go after with some of these coaches, is that if you do some of these things that win at all costs, or you're not letting players play and all that, or you're being abusive to players and people, then we don't just suspend you, we just take the money away from them.
Okay. Last question we've got is from Joel. Joel, oh no, we've done another one just come in. But Joel's saying, I spent the season coaching in Sweden. They now play cross ice up to and including under 12. Scotland went the other direction this year and lowered age groups full ice games to under 11. What's your thoughts on these 2 different directions?
I like the Swedish way. I see the way it works in Hungary. We do 8s and 10s cross ice. Under 12s, they go full ice, but no scores. So there's no tables or anything like that. Cross ice is very good. I think for definitely under 10, I'd even go as far as under 11. Cross ice is the way. The kids get way more ice time, and there's a lot less traveling. You go for a 4-hour tournament and you get 9 games or 8 games or something like that. That's an awful lot of hockey for them to play.
Yeah, so I think just to elaborate on that a little bit from a Scottish point of view, obviously our age groups changed this year.
Yeah.
The youngest full ice league was under 12. When we moved the age groups, we decided that under 11 would be a full ice league, and there's definitely an argument whether that was the right or wrong thing to do. But we didn't get to play many games, or if any at all this year, obviously. But we did set some parameters that teams must have 15 players on each team. You know, they couldn't double shift players, things like that. So we tried to make it the best we could. But the other side to that as well is there's nothing stopping clubs organising cross ices for under 11s themselves. Yeah. You know, just because they play in an under 11 league, which is a full ice league, there's nothing stopping them from organising other stuff if they've got ice available.
What's happened here is it's gone a step further in is that there's so many small rinks here, like small size rinks, and clubs that already have one team, two teams of U14 players, but they still have another group of players that they have a 3-on-3 league that is cross-iced for all the way up to U18 now too, for a lot of these, just so players can play the game and get to get it on the ice and play games too. You know, even at the lowest level, and obviously it starts at U12 and goes upwards for some of these smaller rinks here. So it cross ice is it's a good way of playing, and if it's coached correctly by coaches, they can actually teach the players enough that they can go into the full ice league. But at the end of the day, all these things have to be, the decision is the player has to be central to the decision. Not what's best for the coach, what's best for the federation, but what would be the best way going for the players. And I understand the reason for changing the age groups. Then you just move that down. I understand that, and the rules are great. They're actually better than the rules that they have here for the amount of players that they have to play in that league.
Daryl, can I just jump in there on the same kind of vein about that?
Yep.
In Hungary, are you using smaller size nets for the younger age levels, or are you just using full size nets for everything?
Just UH, they use the blue pucks and the small nets. They go to use 10s, then they use regulations. I would actually suggest that they still use the smaller stuff, but they use the regulation size from U10s outwards. But like I said, we have 190 odd games at tournaments at U9. U10, U8. So yeah, it's a big section that we can actually use that there.
So what does every club then have a couple of sets of small size nets? Yeah.
Yep. Actually, here, to be fair, almost every rink has maybe 5 different sets of nets of different sizes.
We're lucky for
not all of them are bought. Some are made. So especially the smaller ones are made and all that. I've seen handmade stuff and all that. But a big rink will have at least two sets of goals, normal size, but they'll have maybe 6 because two are for the pro team to use, and then they'll have 2 or 3 different sizes of nets going down too.
Yeah, that's something that we're looking at right now, and we're probably going to roll out to the next SIH club meeting, is starting to encourage clubs to maybe invest in. Well, we're saying invest in a couple of small nets each, but really, if you're having a cross ice, you potentially need at least 4, maybe 6. And there's obviously cost implications there, but it's definitely something. It's not fair. It's not fair in a 7-year-old goalie to be standing in a full size net, obviously.
When I first started putting the cross ice in Great Britain, I remember being, I think it was in Milton Keynes. We were running a cross ice day, and everybody's really anti about doing this. And all I could hear when I was there was, hey, and I'm thinking, there's a few goalies that are getting really pissed off right now. I'm upset about this because all you can hear is guys scoring goals against these big nets. You have to do it at what is best for the players. And the goal, if you look at the side, and what do most of the goalies do nowadays, they fall on their knees.
Yeah.
Well, that makes things even more difficult for them to stop the puck when kids can raise the puck too. Like I said, having money is a lucky thing. And what the couple of things the federation did smartly here is they made clubs spend their money on certain things like that. So every club, all the really big junior programs here, which is there's 2 really good ones and probably another 6 or 8 big ones. They all have barriers that go across the sponge barriers, just like they had for inline and all that. All of them. They bought them all from Slovakia and all that. So all these rinks have that. Other rinks have to have something to go across the ice to separate the ice, whether it be wood or whether it be something else. They all had to have so many goals, so many nets for cross ice hockey, in big nets or small nets, depending on what ages they were working. They forced them to spend some of the money on those things. I know you don't have that situation, but it's one thing that they did well. They did do well here. They forced the people to spend the money on the right things.
Yeah, no, completely agree. It's we're trying to put a lot of these ideas in place, but clubs don't have bottomless pits over here, and especially where we are right now, is clubs don't know how many players they're going to have coming back when rinks open and things like that. Yep. And that's things like that are going to have a massive influence on club finances to be able to buy training aids and things like that. Not every club has, thousands of pounds in the bank where they can just say, okay, let's do this. That's one of the many sort of issues that we face here in Scottish ice hockey. Okay, two more for you, Daryl. Next one's from David Bax, under 11s coach. We have a combined under 11s and under 9s team. So kids age 6 to 11 basically on the same team. How would you structure a practice to not leave the under 9s behind, but keep it challenging enough for under 11s and address each group's development goals?
You know what? Honestly, you could do a double station program where you split them into maybe three groups, good, bad, and indifferent, and then you spread them into U11s and U9s. You split them in that way as well. So you work with skill development one, and then when you want to have more game-like stuff, then you can maybe split them into two, having the 11s at one end and the 9s at the other end.
Yeah, in all honesty, it's probably not much different from a standard learn to play practice from a lot of clubs. I mean, some learn to plays have kids from 5 to 15 on the ice together. So yes, separate by age or ability or height or size and things like that. Yeah,
that's right. In that situation, because the question is very good, well structured, it's very precise, then fine. To teaching skills, put them in skill levels. Once we start thinking about doing something a little bit more team orientated, then put them into their teams.
Okay. And the last one we've got is from Raymond. After the comment about the ref, as kids play games at all ages, how would you teach them the rules, dedicating talking points during sessions or hints, and see what happens as it happens?
Yeah, I would do that. I'd have them. I talk to them, explain some of the things. This is one of the things that everybody said to me about cross ice. Oh, they won't learn offside. They won't learn what offside is. Man, he can't skate. What the hell is he going to worry about offside for right now? That's the first thing. But there is a space that you can actually teach that type of thing as they start to go along. Kids are pretty smart as they go. So you teach them some of the rules. The cross ice program works in that if a kid does something here, they have referees, but in Britain we used to have coaches do the practice, do the officiating. They stop it. You say, this is what you did wrong, and there's a penalty shot put in there too. And then later on, we have a lot of off-ice stuff too here, where they have meetings with kids and all that. So bring a referee in to explain a few things, especially as they get older. But even at the younger ages, have them come in and talk. The one thing about referees, they can talk. I guess I could have been a referee the amount I can talk, but they can talk and they enjoy talking about what they do, and then it makes the kids understand some of the rules and some of the way what the referee's looking at and looking for it.
Okay. One last question that's just come in from Eric again. Don't know if this is a question for you or for us, Daryl, but we can all answer it, I guess. With COVID having effectively taken a full year away from all age groups, there's a growing feeling that we should possibly revert to under 12, under 14, under 16 again. What's your thoughts on that? It's a good question. It's a very good question.
Hot topic just now.
It's something to answer it from an SIH point of view, Eric. I'm sure Daryl's got his own opinion as well. It's something that has been discussed, especially for the under 18 players, the second year under 18 players that have lost a whole year of hockey and have probably lost. That's the end of their junior careers now if they're not going to go on to SNL and something like that. The things that we've got to consider is if we move the under 18 league to under 19, then we have to move every age group again. after we just moved all the age groups last year. I'm not saying it's a good or bad idea. I think there's definitely a case and an argument for it. It's about weighing up. I think what's potentially going to have to happen, Eric, is once ice rinks open again in the next couple of weeks, or whether we wait until the start of next season, we're going to have to get an idea of what numbers clubs have, and then just make a better judgment call from then on what the age group should be, rather than think about that now. If that answers your question, it's definitely worth talking about. I'll say, wait, it has been discussed already, but I don't think we have a definitive answer to that yet until we have a rough idea of what clubs are potentially going to be struggling for players at certain age groups next year. Daryl?
Yeah, I like you said, I like the idea about the U18s. They did it in Hungary. There was a problem with the U20 league. We weren't getting enough players stepping up into the men's teams, and then Austria pulled their under 20 league, so there was almost no competition. So what they did is they moved that up to under 21 to give those players an opportunity to play one more year, and that type of thing. For everybody else, I think, one thing I was just thinking about through all this is one thing I think the association need to look at, specifically in Scotland on this, and then the clubs have to be open to, is exactly what you said. See how many players come back. That's what happens if one team has nine players and another team has 10 players, and they're not too far apart, or if they're a long way apart, doesn't really matter. Can you put those two teams together at that age as a combined team to play in the league, so you still keep those 19 players playing someplace? It used to happen here at the top in the under 18 and under 20 levels, because a team on one side of the country outside. So you're talking about teams that were 4 hours away from each other, put together a team one season. But guess what? They both have under 18 and under 20 teams now 5 years later. So I guess it did work somehow.
Like we've always said for the last year since COVID broke, we've always kind of said once things get up and running again, we're open to all sorts of ideas and all sorts of possibilities. Anything's on the table. Obviously we're not a big hockey nation. As it stands, before COVID, we had quite a few clubs that couldn't put teams in every age group because they didn't have enough players. And it's something that everybody's conscious of. Yeah, maybe amalgamating two teams at an age group is a good idea. But definitely is if it's going to keep kids playing and be able to put a team in a league. But going back to the age groups thing, if we moved the under 18s to under 19s, obviously you couldn't have the league below that staying at under 15s, because then you've got a 4-year group. So you'd have to move that group, and then you start, well, what else? What other age groups do we need to move? It's just a question that we can't answer right now until we've got an idea where clubs are.
Of course, this is the right time to say that, well, what you could do is start an under 20 league on top of your under 18 league. After you through a year like this, right?
We definitely don't have enough players for an under 18 and under 20 league. That's why we did away with under 20s and moved it to under 18s, because we figured at the time there was potentially more players with under 15s that could play up to under 18s. That's why we did it that way. It's just one of the pitfalls of being a minority sport. We don't have every club doesn't have 25 players at every age group. Some clubs have 15 players at every age group. Some players have 15 at one age group and 8 at another, or 10 at another, and things like that. And it's just something that we're probably always going to have to shuffle the pack every year or every 2 years, especially after what's happened the last year. But I say, once we get a better idea of where we are numbers wise, then we can maybe start planning things a little bit better.
That's a good thing. That's the most important thing, I think, here, is that you guys have to be open to suggestions and ideas, because it's a very unusual situation. And you guys, if it's happening in England, but England will survive through their size, because of their size. You guys have to try and keep as many people as you can and to keep it as structured as possible for the next couple of years. So if you're open to things, just to try and figure out how it would work, and go from there. And that's important, because for you guys to lose 9 guys or 10 kids they're 10 kids that are not coming back, and you don't know where you're going to replace them from. So it's about trying to keep as many people in for a little while till you can keep going.
Definitely. Eric's just sort of added a little comment there. My perspective is more on the players moving up an age group. which after losing a year could effectively put players off, and as a result lose teams at age groups. He's entirely right. It's, you know, you might have a kid now that's lost his last year under 15s and has to go into the under 18s league, and that could be a little bit daunting for a kid if he's not played in a year. So
absolutely,
I agree with what you're saying in principle, Eric. Absolutely, it's something that we're going to have some serious discussion about over the summer.
Daryl, I've got a question for you. Do you have any cases where you've got two clubs where they just share ice, so like 1 week or maybe a Tuesday night a club has a set of skill drills and stations, and then the next night it's a separate club does the same thing, but do both teams go to each to maximise ice time? Have you ever seen that in Hungary?
I have seen clubs work together in such a way, yes. Yeah. I've also, you know, what I struggled with when I was in Britain before I left Britain was that once we started talking about small area games, you had coaches that, well, this is my practice and nobody else can come on. But nobody's using that end of the ice. Why don't you let you 14s on, and then we can come on, and then you get twice as much ice time during and for clubs to do it, especially if they're of a certain size or there's cooperation of the coaches. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I just think if we can be creative, if there's two clubs that have only got one ice session a week, make it two, double it up, and share the ice and have stations, 4 stations, 6 stations, you know, and that'll give you 2 hours ice instead of 1 hour ice a week.
Exactly, that's right. Depending how you do it or what you do, yes, of course. You know, it's an important way of doing things. And if you think about it in another way, is that the best players in Sweden, Finland, Canada, Russia, all that, the Russians are getting 2 hours ice time a day, some of them. Yeah. You know, so that's what you're up against. But you're also up against the Hungarians who smaller than you, that their kids are getting 200 practices a year plus 200 off ice practice. So you got to make up that deficit somewhere in there. Yeah. And I'm not saying that you can't, because Britain's always I've always had good hockey players, and I've always had good hockey because the best players played at all levels. But you need to do that for more of your players too. Make it possible. If you can share practices or do something, creative thinking's got to be worked there.
I think we're going to get left behind if we don't.
Like we say, everything, all suggestions, all options are on the table going forward. Yeah. We've all got clubs have got to work together to get through this, and the positive conversations that Barry, Martin, and I have had with some head coaches around the league and some club chairmen around the league is everybody's willing to look at how what our model is, and will the existing model that we've had for the last few years be fit for purpose going forward next year after COVID? You know. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. But I think on that note, guys, at 10:10, I know it's a little bit later for you, Daryl.
Yeah, 11 past 11 here.
Like to thank everybody for joining tonight. It's been pretty informative. I hope you all come back again on Thursday at 8 o'clock where we start talking about under 13 and under 15, because that's when the very important ages for kids. We've learned tonight about how to give kids the basics and the fundamentals. Daryl's going to look to take that on a little bit on Thursday night and start talking about the next step for kids coming through their hockey journey. I hope everybody tunes in for that again. Thanks again for joining tonight. Again, Daryl, thank you for your time. We're all really appreciative of it. And we will see, hopefully, you all again on Thursday. Okay, guys?
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Daryl. Thanks, guys.
Peace, everyone. Hopefully see you Thursday.
Oh, Colin. Guess he got to the bottom of that one, eh?
Has Colin been on the Brewdogs again and he's fallen asleep on the couch?
Every night's a Brewdog night if you're Colin.
He's only going to speak on a Friday.
So with these presentations, I'll get you this presentations with the videos in them, but I'll also include all the Hungarian development plan stuff for every age level. that we've got at the moment, plus all the extra drills that we have, the extra practices and all that for that. So it kind of comes in as a whole package for you too.
You know us, Daryl. We will take as much information as we can get. We'll take it all. I think. See, when you go to put these on the YouTube channel, Kingy, can you split that up? You know, the overview for the first hour and then under 9s, under 11s the second hour. Are you able to do that?
I can split it up, yeah.
Perfect.
Have that
Perfect.
ability.
No, that was great. Looking forward to Thursday.
Right, guys. Sure.
Excellent. Thank you again.
No, thanks. I mean, I know we're talking a little bit different, but I'm trying to make sure I kind of pull back on some of my thinking from when I was in Great Britain and all that, and that there is a lot of full ice. I'm pleased to hear that you guys are playing cross ice at the younger ages. That's fantastic, and it makes a big difference.
We play a lot of cross ice now. It took a little bit longer than it probably should have to get some people to buy in. Even I'll give you an example. An SIH board member, a guy called Jim Taylor. He's quite an old guy. He's probably about 75 now, maybe older actually. You'll remember Jim Watson, won't you?
I know Jim. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think Jim maybe went to Virumaki, God knows how many years ago, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. And anyway, he came back to the SIH board and started preaching about small area games and this and that and the other. And Jim Taylor actually sat on the. I remember Jim Watson telling me this story. Jim Taylor kind of piped up at the SIH board table and went, "Well, why are we playing small area games? Why are we doing small area drills? We play on full." And you know when you just want to give it one of them, oh for fuck's sake, you know. So, but the good thing now is most clubs will have 3 or 4 cross ices a year minimum.
Good.
You know,
that's good.
Most clubs will, won't they? I think even you do them, Kingy, in Lanarkshire?
Yeah, we haven't done a lot, but we've done a couple. We've done a couple because of ice time, but we've done a couple and they were really good.
Yeah, Fife always do 4 or 5 a year. Dundee used to do a lot, but since we moved National Training Day up to Dundee, we've kind of stolen a bit of their ice time. Murrayfield, North Ayr, South Ayr, everyone's buying into cross ice thing.
Well, you know what they have? They can't have it here now. But what happens is if a club hosts a cross ice, so let's say a Fife hold a cross ice, a mini or super mini tournament, they come in so they invite 2, 3, or 5 other teams. So they have the tournament, but then they put a spread on for everybody. There's sandwiches and tea that's free and all this stuff so everybody, the kids, the players are, and this is part of how the parents will get excited. We're gonna have a tournament, so they got to start buying tons of bread and this is all this stuff. And what they do is they put dripping on some bread with onions. They have some with marmalade on it or something like that. And it becomes a bit of a party type of situation for the amount of time that people are there. So it's become I know when I went to the first one, somebody says, "Well, you have to come. You have to come because we have the best spread in the country." Okay, then I'll come and see that. That's fantastic. But that's what some of these clubs are really, really excited about. That atmosphere, as well as they can't do it nowadays at the moment. But this is part of the thing, and it's making the community a little bit better too. You know, everybody's happy, and so you don't have parents going in there wanting to stab each other at under 11 games. Hey, I remember you from last year. Oh yeah. A little bit better anyway.
Yeah, over here it'd be a free bar. That was
remember you from last year. You're a little fucker. They ate all the sandwiches.
Yeah.
Imagine it was a free bar at a cross ice. Then mobbed, you wouldn't be able to get in. You know. Well, Daryl, see just on
right,
that, right?
Cool. Well, listen, we'll let you.
I was going to ask you a question. Once you're freezing again, your internet's buggered again.
What are you saying, King?
Your internet's buggered again. You're frozen again.
Oh, am I freezing again?
You're freezing. That just quickly, Daryl. You know, we'll get cross ice at Lowry's. Some of us are thinking over here about under 18s, maybe some younger, doing 3-on-3s, cross ice or full ice as well, just to make it a wee bit different again. Have you seen any of that in Hungary or about the world or anything like that?
We have a whole cross ice set of leagues, and it's actually, they have it for adults too. 3-on-3 hockey. It kind of pisses me off because it seems to have taken over all development at one point here. Yeah. But a lot of the smaller clubs, but even the bigger clubs now are having it cross ice instead of having it on the smaller rinks too. So yeah, 12s, 14s, 16s, 18s, and also there's a small rink tournament that goes on for the adults too.
Yeah, okay. It's just some ideas. We're just trying to be creative over here about what we can do. Okay.
3 and 3 is funny for a guy my age. It's if I ever get a chance to go on, then it's great because I don't have to skate so far. So there's no offsides.
Yeah.
Sounds like it would suit me fine.
So do you?
Man, you
think
could
it
make a
did.
career out of that.
Eh?
You could make a career out of that. It's a big comeback.
Maybe taking 10 years off you, but shaving.
6 yard man.
Okay.
Blue line, Barry. Blue line to blue line.
Right.
Okay.
We'll let you get off, buddy.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you Thursday, okay? Thanks
For
again.
sure. You take care. Talk to you
Cheers,
soon.
Daryl.
Ciao. Bye now.
That's it.
That was long.
That was long.
That was long.
We should have split that into 2 sets. The numbers dropped down to about 18, but we lost about 10 on that set, the second half for that.
It was too much.
That was a bit too much for one session.
Do you know the thing is, the really good bit was the second half.
Yeah. Hopefully he doesn't have to like introduce himself for the 400th time on Thursday.
You could just crack right into the 13s, 15s and be done in an hour and a half or something.
It was the same first 5 slides again. Aye. But you know the second half,
that was a long one.
yeah.
It was a good one, but I think we did lose a few people.
Well, a lot of people just never bothered turning up in the first place.
Aye, to peak at 28 wasn't great either.
No. I mean, how many people in this country coach under 10s, under 12s, and under 14s? You know, there's a good number.
Aye, a lot more than 28.
Aye, I know. It was a bit disappointing. But did you know what? It's recorded. People will watch it. I don't know if you looked at analytics on YouTube, but Tony's going to be a bit upset because Tony's videos analytics are going down the way. TJ's and Tim Tuck's are overtaking him by a mile already in the analytics.
Aye.
So David will make us change that. I'm sure he'll be on the phone to us. You need to up those analytics. You need to go and watch Tony's analytics.
Pretty sure Tony doesn't know what a YouTube analytic is.
Davey will cook the books and start doctoring it.
I'm sure we'll need to pay Tony or something.
Aye.
Right, okay.
Right, guys, I'm going.
Aye.
I need to walk the dog.
I'm out of here.
I'm grubbed. Okay.
Aye, me too.
Right,
Right, I'll see you Thursday.
Bye.
See ya.
Cheerio.